Hi, my lovelies. Woo here. I just want to do another video and kind of talk a little bit more about fascia. Quick recap of kind of my background. My background is in sports medicine. I started with that 17 years ago. And so I have lots of experience. I've seen many different sports and athletes and treated thousands of people over the years. And so all of this is kind of being based on that, and what we're talking about is intuitive movement, so listening to your body, and just seeing what your body wants you to explore, what your body wants to say, what feels like it's the right stretch for you. This is kind of going beyond the typical, like, let's just stretch your quad or just stretch your hamstring because that's what's going to help your low back. This is about more of a global approach, whole body. So it's not just targeting one muscle in one plane, it is targeting the fascia in different planes and different movements, so that and it's all based on your body, so everything's very tailored to you, and because you're listening to what movements feel the best for you. This is just kind of a video to help explain how to do it, how to approach it. You don't have to have any special equipment, just enough, area to kind of move around in. Sometimes it is kind of good to have some stuff around you so that you could push against it or hold on to it, have some props. Not necessarily needed though, like nothing special, you don't have to buy anything. I do find it helpful when to wear stuff that's kind of a little bit more form-fitting, just because it kind of gives you a little bit more, your body a little bit more of a guide on what you're trying to work on, to move and to push against. So sometimes I just see where my body is going. Like right now I'm noticing, I'll step back so you can see it, but just kind of as I'm sitting here talking, I was noticing my foot was starting to turn out. I feel a stretch on the outside of my foot, and then I've noticed I felt a little click in my knee. I don't know if that was audible enough for you to hear it on the video. And I feel like if I just keep moving around and letting my leg pretty much do whatever it wants, I'm noticing some stretch, some engagement, recruiting some individual muscle cells that might not have been engaged before. My foot now feels a little freer, feels more mobile. It still feels like a little tight. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I have worked on this foot a few times, but I'm particularly feeling right through the middle of my foot, more on like maybe not quite the middle, maybe in between like my big toe and the second toe, and just kind of feeling through that. And I'm just shifting, letting my body shift in different ways and see what happens. Like right now, my hips shifting backwards, I'm noticing more tension in like my glute right now, the side of my hip. And then I'm noticing as I do this, I'm feeling there's some fascia all the way from my foot being in this position all the way up to my hip. And as I move forward, because I feel like that's what my body's telling me, it's shifting things. And I'm just kind of, again, very free form. Just putting my hand here because it feels like that's what I need support in. And then just kind of feeling for where my body needs more support. That felt pretty complete, so just kind of stand up, maybe shake it out a little bit, see what's different. The tension feels better than it was before, especially when I do stuff like this. A long time ago, or maybe not a long time ago, but a couple months ago or so, I was having like some sharp pain, kind of more like nerve type pain in between my big toe and my little toe, especially when I would be kind of in there. Just kind of see in that position where my toes are kind of bent, but I'm on the ball of my foot. This is probably years of being a catcher in softball and doing things like that. But noticing now when I feel around for it, like it feels, so there's I'm kind of rotating my hip out, and as I'm doing that, my big toe is kind of being stretched like this, and that feels really good. And I'm just kind of like feeling for those kind of stretches, and that feels kind of like done. So and when it feels done, it means I just don't I don't hold anything for too long, and I'm not looking always for like a huge release. Sometimes the release feels so gradual, like because I'm going through this motion with it, and I'm like following the tension, that I don't really notice how much is being released until I get to a point where I'm back to like baseline, like I'm back to just standing like normal and noticing. And I am noticing as I move kind of through this, that there's an element of like kind of like the spirally element through from my heel, and like I'm feeling the tension mostly, like can't really see it because so like my heel and my toe, so from all the way from both points I feel a lot of tension. I'm feeling some tension in my the inside of my knee a little bit too, but it doesn't feel like anything's harmful. It doesn't feel like anything's about to like it doesn't feel like I'm torquing it too much. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure. I'm very controlled in everything that I'm doing, and kind of just letting it move through that. And I'm not like really thinking, oh, I'm gonna put my foot here and I'm gonna turn this way and I'm gonna do this. I'm just allowing whatever my body wants to do to happen. So I'm just kind of feeling that again, and like that feels looser, it feels different. The inside, like this part of my leg, like maybe like the inner third of my leg now feels a little bit more relaxed up until about my knee. Then it feels kind of like normal through my leg. When I say normal, I mean where I started with. I am noticing there's something different in my quad after I just did that. It feels like maybe some of those muscles or individual muscle cells maybe have been a little inactive, and that just kind of activated them again with this like spirally motion that it wasn't really hasn't really done in a while. So it feels a little because it kind of relaxed, so it feels a little more jello-y, which is again normal, like when muscles release, to feel a little bit wobbly, a little jello-y, and kind of just listen to your body to see like when enough is enough. Just kind of feeling through if there's anything else that feels like I could kind of go through a little bit. So again, I have stuff around me that I can kind of support myself. I'm back on my heel. My heel felt like it needed a little release. through my hip, and I'm just kind of allowing that to happen, allowing my body to kind of just move into whatever it's supposed to. And this feels like this is right. And as I move up, I'm noticing like kind of like the inside of my leg just felt like it released a little bit with that. Like it feels more mobile, less tense. It feels when I do this like this kind of lungy stretch, it feels different. I'm also noticing my foot grips a little different as I do this stretch. Where I feel like before I might not have engaged all of my foot, or I might have been more of an just a stretch as I did this. Whereas now I feel like it's more muscle engagement. Like I feel like I'm more grippy with it. Like those muscles have now turned on a little bit more, or like muscle recruitment's kind of happened a little bit better. And so that feels a lot better. So now my foot, this leg feels different than it did before when I started. So that's just kind of another example of kind of intuitive movement, and what I'm talking about, just kind of listening to your body and like just kind of shift back and forth a little bit to get you started, and then kind of feel into, oh, like I do have a little, you might just kind of remember like, oh, I did play, catcher a lot in softball, and that might be why my foot kind of is a little bit more crampy from always kind of being on that, or that running track or running in general, being on your toes for basketball, like any all the sports that you played when you were little, and or over through the years. If you played sports, you might not have, but like just kind of, it might trigger a memory or trigger something where you're like, oh, this might be kind of where this started, or this little tension started, and then once that tension started, it just kind of feeds on that. And sometimes what I mean by feeds on that is that like it might be a little tense, and then you start to avoid it. And so when you avoid that one motion, then your body gets used to that, and then it starts to make other tension, and it's kind of like the end of the is like this goes into that, and this goes into that, and like just kind of down a little rabbit hole of where the tension actually started. And when you can approach it as a full body kind of experience, you're able to see it as a little bit better way to it being more full body. Like your body's it's not just one plane, it's not just linear. So as you're moving and shifting, you're able to see it's more, your body is 3D, and things got tense in a 3D way versus it being very like, oh, I have to do this one quad stretch because this is the stretch that stretches your quad. Like there's other ways to stretch your quad, and your body knows how. You just have to kind of see, put an intention like, hey, I want to stretch my quad, or how can I release my quad the best, and see where that ends up. Like I'm noticing like as I do that, I want to shift to my other side immediately, and then shift over like this, and I do feel now a stretch in my quad. So it's just a matter of like kind of playing with that. If you want to check out other videos, Somato Enlightenment on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you also check me out at somatoenlightenment.com, and we will see you later.